If you want to be successful, you need to unlearn almost everything school programmed into you. The system taught you to follow rules and fit in, not break them and stand out. Now you're stuck trading hours for dollars while watching others achieve freedom. In this video, you'll learn unconventional strategies that separate extraordinary men in America's history from the average. You'll discover how to be more productive without working harder, automate your wealth to make money on autopilot, and make small decisions that compound into massive results. But this first cheat code explains why some guys achieve in 1 month what takes others an entire year. You know you're working hard, but are you working smart? Most people spend their entire lives spinning their wheels, putting in countless hours without the results to show for it. They're trapped in a system that rewards busyness over effectiveness. But what if I told you there's a principle that could dramatically increase your output while actually reducing your effort? The 80-20 principle states that roughly 80% of your results come from just 20% of your actions. This isn't just some cute business theory. It's a fundamental law that applies to virtually everything in life: your relationships, your health, your finances, and definitely your career. During World War II, a math expert named Abraham Wald had to figure out where to add armor to planes to keep more of them safe. The military leaders wanted to add armor where they saw the most damage on planes that came back. Sounds right, doesn't it? But Wald saw something they missed. He knew these planes had made it back even with that damage. The planes that weren't coming back were getting hit in places that showed no damage on the returning planes. So Wald said to put armor on those areas that looked fine. This smart thinking saved many lives by focusing on the key 20% that would give 80% of the safety benefit. You can use this same principle by using the power method. First, prioritize high-impact activities by asking yourself which few tasks actually move the needle. Second, optimize your highest leverage skills, the ones that create disproportionate value. Third, weed out time-wasting tasks that keep you busy but produce minimal results. Fourth, eliminate distractions and unnecessary tasks ruthlessly. Finally, reinvest the time you save into doing more of what works. This framework gives you a structured approach to focus on the vital few activities that produce the majority of your results. Now that you know how to find your most important tasks, let's talk about protecting the time you need to do them. Here's something most people never learn. Saying yes to everything is the fastest way to become average. Every time you agree to something that doesn't match your goals, you're saying no to something that does. Your time and energy, the most valuable things you have, are limited, and everyone wants some of them. During the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln was always being stopped by people wanting things from him. These endless meetings and asks were draining his ability to run the war effort well. Finally, Lincoln saw this problem and set up specific hours for visitors, letting his staff handle smaller matters. This simple boundary let him save his mental energy for the big decisions only he could make, literally decisions that would decide the fate of the nation. The biggest problem with setting boundaries isn't practical. It's in your head. We fear disappointing others or missing chances. But what we don't realize is that by trying to please everyone, we end up pleasing no one. When Theodore Roosevelt became New York City Police Commissioner in 1895, he faced huge pressure from political bosses wanting favors and jobs. These were powerful men who could make his life very hard if he got on their bad side. Instead of giving in, Roosevelt set clear rules for police hiring based on skill, not political ties. He publicly stood by his rules despite harsh criticism. By getting past the need to please people, Roosevelt changed the department and greatly reduced corruption. His boundaries didn't limit his success. They made it possible. Setting boundaries saves your energy for what matters most. But you still need guidance on how to best use that energy. Which brings us to one of the most overlooked ways to speed up success. Most successful people didn't figure everything out alone. They had guidance, and often from many sources. The self-made person is mostly a myth. Behind every great achievement is a network of mentors who gave critical insights at key moments. Benjamin Franklin understood this better than most. He formed what he called a junto, or club of mutual improvement, gathering people with different skills, including printers, surveyors, merchants, and math experts. This personal board of advisors met weekly to share knowledge, discuss important questions, and give feedback on each other's projects and ideas. This council of mentors greatly helped Franklin's growth and many of his successful public projects, from creating the first public library in America to starting the University of Pennsylvania. If building a full board of advisors seems too much, start small. Pick one area where you need to grow and reach out to someone whose skills you admire. Make a specific, time-limited ask for guidance. Maybe it's a 30-minute coffee meeting or a phone call about a specific challenge you're facing. This starts your first mentoring relationship without overwhelming you or your potential mentor. Even with great mentors guiding your path, your ability to use their advice depends on something so basic that most driven people dangerously ignore it. But before we get into that, if you're sick of being average and want to unlock your full potential, subscribe to Forge Theory so you don't miss any of our future videos. Your brain is not made to work properly without enough rest, period. Yet we live in a world that glorifies the hustle, that treats sleep like a weakness, that celebrates staying up all night. This is one of the most harmful myths in modern society. The research is very clear. Sleeping less than 7 to 8 hours regularly destroys your thinking skills, emotional control, and physical health. During the Revolutionary War, General George Washington kept a strict sleep schedule whenever possible, even during the harsh winter at Valley Forge. Washington knew that his decision-making affected thousands of lives and the future of a nation, so he protected his rest to make sure he could lead well. Meanwhile, many British officers tired themselves out with late-night parties and made poor choices as a result. Washington's commitment to rest wasn't lazy, it was smart. The challenge is spotting when lack of sleep is affecting you before it's too late. Watch for these warning signs: trouble focusing on simple tasks, getting irritated easily in normal interactions, and craving sugary or starchy foods. These are early signals that should make you adjust your schedule right away to get more rest. Don't wait until you're making serious mistakes or burning out. While proper rest rebuilds your inner resources, there's another type of resource that becomes very valuable during hard times, but only if you've built it ahead of time. Most people only start networking when they need something: a job, a client, an opportunity. By then, it's already too late. The time to build relationships is before you need them. Real connection creates a support system that becomes priceless during times of need. Before World War II, President Franklin D. Roosevelt spent significant time building personal relationships with British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and other Allied leaders through letters and meetings. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, these carefully built connections provided the trust and communication channels that were crucial for quick coordination. This allowed for unprecedented international teamwork during the war. Roosevelt didn't wait until a crisis hit to build these relationships. He laid the groundwork years in advance. Many people avoid networking because they see it as fake or self-serving, but that's not effective relationship building. It's just going through the motions. During the Civil Rights Movement, Rosa Parks is often shown as simply a tired woman who refused to give up her bus seat, but the reality was much more planned. Parks had spent years building relationships within civil rights groups and had trained at the Highlander Folk School. When the moment for action came, Parks had an established network of supporters ready to organize the Montgomery bus boycott. This shows how authentic relationship building based on shared values creates powerful support systems when you need it most. Parks wasn't networking in the usual sense. She was connecting with people who shared her mission. With a strong network supporting you and proper rest fueling you, you're ready to tackle the deep work that drives extraordinary results. But this requires a specific approach to managing your attention. The difference between average and exceptional often comes down to your ability to focus deeply. Most people never develop this skill. They spend their days reacting to emails, messages, and meetings, constantly switching tasks and never reaching the state of deep focus where breakthrough work happens. At the Manhattan Project's Los Alamos laboratory during World War II, physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer created an environment that prioritized focused work in an unconventional way. Rather than enforcing rigid schedules, Oppenheimer kept the lab open day and night, allowing scientists to set their own hours based on when they worked best. This flexible approach enabled his team of brilliant minds to immerse themselves in the complex problems of nuclear physics without the constraints of traditional workplaces. By cultivating an atmosphere where deep concentration was valued and interruptions were minimized, Oppenheimer helped create conditions where the extraordinary scientific breakthroughs needed for the atomic bomb could emerge. The main barriers to achieving deep work states are outside distractions, notifications, noise, and interruptions from colleagues. You can't just decide to focus deeply in a place designed to split your attention. President Thomas Jefferson understood this when he designed and built a revolving desk and specialized copying machine at Monticello. He created an ideal workspace for his intensive thinking and writing sessions. By physically designing his environment to minimize distractions and maximize efficiency, Jefferson was able to produce extraordinary amounts of high-quality thinking work across multiple fields of knowledge despite the many demands on his attention. His solution wasn't willpower, it was environmental design. Deep work sessions allow you to make significant progress on your most important projects. But there's another area where systematic thinking creates compound benefits over time. Financial freedom typically isn't achieved through one big windfall. It's built through consistent systems that work without your constant attention. Most people manage money reactively, making emotional decisions based on immediate circumstances rather than long-term strategy. During the early years of the United States, Alexander Hamilton designed America's first financial system to address the Revolutionary War debt. As Treasury Secretary, he established a plan that consolidated state and federal debts, created reliable revenue streams through customs duties and excise taxes, and established public credit. By creating a structured approach to debt repayment with dedicated funding sources, Hamilton's system brought order to chaotic finances and laid the foundation for America's economic stability, demonstrating the power of implementing systematic rather than reactive financial management. The most common mistake in managing money is waiting to save what's left after spending rather than automatically directing money to savings before it can be spent. This pay-yourself-first approach flips the traditional formula and ensures steady progress regardless of your tendency to spend what's available. Set up automatic transfers to investment accounts, retirement funds, and targeted savings on the day your paycheck arrives. Then, live on what remains. This simple automation eliminates the need for constant discipline and ensures consistent wealth building. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Your brain and body adapt to routine. They stop developing when they're not challenged. Most people instinctively avoid discomfort, not realizing they're also avoiding the very experiences that would make them stronger, more capable, and ultimately more confident. During his presidency, Theodore Roosevelt deliberately subjected himself to physical and mental challenges, following what he called the strenuous life. Despite having severe asthma as a child, Roosevelt pushed himself through intense outdoor adventures, boxing matches, even while president, and learning new skills like jiu-jitsu. This deliberate discomfort built the resilience and adaptability that helped him overcome personal tragedies and lead the nation through challenging times. The biggest obstacles to embracing growth-inducing challenges are often social. We fear looking bad or being judged for stepping outside expected norms. This social pressure to conform keeps many people confined to their familiar limitations. During World War II, the Women Air Force Service pilots faced intense opposition from those who believed women couldn't handle the demands of flying military aircraft. Under the leadership of Jacqueline Cochran, these female pilots deliberately embraced the discomfort of social disapproval and the challenges of their training. They ultimately proved their abilities by flying over 60 million miles in service missions. Their story shows how pushing through social obstacles to pursue growth leads to both personal and collective advancement. They didn't just change themselves, they changed society's view of what was possible. While dramatic challenges create noticeable growth, there's a quieter form of progress that might be even more powerful in the long run. Small changes don't feel significant in the moment, but maintained consistently over time, they create exponential rather than linear improvements. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and drastically underestimate what they can achieve in a year of steady progress. During the American Revolution, Benjamin Franklin established a rigorous system of daily habits focused on continuous small improvements. He tracked 13 virtues in a small notebook he carried everywhere, focusing on one virtue each week while maintaining awareness of the others. This methodical approach to building character and skills through daily practices contributed to his extraordinary success across multiple domains, from business and science to diplomacy and politics. Franklin understood that consistent small habits compound into remarkable achievements over a lifetime. The challenge is that we live in a world where systems are often designed against our long-term interests. Convenience frequently undermines progress by making harmful default choices easier than beneficial ones. During the early 20th century, President Theodore Roosevelt recognized that American conservation faced systemic obstacles from industrial interests and political structures that favored short-term exploitation over long-term sustainability. By systematically establishing national parks, forests, and wildlife refuges one decision at a time, Roosevelt created a new system of environmental protection that has compounded in value over generations. His persistent small actions eventually overcame entrenched systemic barriers and changed the default outcome for millions of acres of American wilderness. With these principles building upon each other, there's one meta-strategy that can accelerate your progress in every area we've discussed so far. There's no need to reinvent the wheel when others have already solved the problems you're facing. The fastest path to success is often to study those who have already achieved what you want and adapt their methods to your situation. During World War II, American manufacturers studied and reverse-engineered the production methods of successful companies like Ford to dramatically increase military equipment output. When shipbuilder Henry Kaiser examined how Ford had revolutionized automobile assembly, he adapted those principles to shipbuilding. This enabled his workers to build Liberty ships in just 42 days instead of the previous 230 days, an extraordinary improvement that helped supply the Allied forces at a crucial time. Kaiser didn't start from scratch. He borrowed principles from another industry and applied them to his specific challenge. You can use the TRACE framework to systematically apply this approach in your own life. First, target those who've achieved your goals. Be specific about who you study. Second, research their background and methods. Go beyond the surface-level success story to understand the principles behind their achievements. Third, adapt their strategies to your situation. No two paths are identical, so focus on transferable principles rather than exact replication. Fourth, customize their approach for your resources. Scale the strategy to fit your current capabilities and constraints. Finally, execute with consistency and reflection. Implement what you've learned and regularly assess what's working. This framework provides a systematic approach to studying successful people and adapting their principles to your unique circumstances, helping you avoid unnecessary detours on your journey to success. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.